Greetings, everyone. This is Lucid Dreamer. I'm back again with a second video on how desires are the root cause of suffering. So, just to recap what the first video was about, in part one, I said that just because, we hear the old cliche saying of a thing, excuse me, just because we hear, something over and over and it sounds like, some ancient saying and we're like, oh, I'm getting tired of hearing that, it doesn't take away the truth of that thing. So some cliche sayings are extremely true. Okay, so, and it still holds that the Buddha said about 5,000 years ago, that desires are the root cause of suffering. You have to deal with me a little bit. I'm a little bit congested, y'all, so I gotta sometimes cough a little. I gotta, bring the mic away. So that still stands, okay, that desires is the root cause of suffering. Now, I also said that it may seem that if we obtain, that thing that we desire, usually something from an external source, that's the solution. But that's a delusion and a trap that 95% of the time always prove that it's not true. And I also said the proof in that is that when those things, even if we obtain it, if it's snatched away, then we fall apart and we go back to that same state of unease before we obtain that thing, when we were in that desiring state. I also said, why do we desire so many things? Because we're externalizing our peace, our joy, how can I say it? We're externalizing our power onto an object, but forgetting that inside of your body is where you generate all the emotions. So I'll get more into that later. So nothing really comes from outside of you. Okay. Then I went into saying about how simplicity is associated with happiness. A lot of the times, if you take some tribes from around the world, that they live very simple with just, they got all the fruits, coconut, they got some nice land, they got a nice lake with thousands of fish, that's been thriving for hundreds of years, feeding, the village. These people it's been proven they're the happiest, more than us in this Western hemisphere where we have like godly technology. Okay. And then lastly, I said, the only reason why desires are so strong is it's no proof that it's, because, the whisper of your lower self, if it's that strong, it's a part of you, it's a part of your soul to experience it. No, it's only because the delusional state that you was in for so long, charging up that external thing. And when I say thing, it doesn't always have to be acquainted with material, just even a certain position, state of being, some idealized version of yourself, that in a sense, that's still external, because all thoughts are external to the true essence of who you are, the God consciousness, right? So went into all of that, just to recap. Now, let me see. That's a really good mark to be at. 5 minutes here. So what are desires? Let's go into once again what are desires and how most of them are delusions. Okay, maybe if I sip my drink at the same time, then that would help a little congestion in my throat. So you can say that desires is basically like a energetic charge, a bio. It comes from the mental realm, but then it's also connected to your nervous system, and it's a whole biochemical process happens within your body with hormones when you start desiring a thing. It's like, man, like you really feel it. It triggers other emotions. You could say it's like an emotion in itself in a way. Okay. And like I said, desires are usually based on, for a long period of time, looking towards some external source of something and thinking that that thing is going to make you better, is going to make you a better person, is going to, make you stop suffering and, things of that nature. I'm reading off my little chart here because sometimes that's the little best thing to do. Most desires are not worthy of entertaining, because what they do in a karmic way, they like create an energetic lock on your body, your mind, your brain, like an energetic lock. Okay. So it traps you in a habitual state of craving, unease, lots of unconscious thoughts always. Even if you're not conscious, there's like, it's dictating your day on the unconscious level. A lot of times, I'm sure y'all seen a diagram that they show of the unconscious mind. They say it's synonymous with the iceberg, which is 90% at the bottom, like a mile wide, but the tip at the top is only like 30 feet. So this is, what they always use to, describe the subconscious mind. So when you have all these desires in you, they're dictating your day on an unconscious level. So, most desires are not worth harboring. Now, I want to go into, I'm sure everyone here has heard of the higher self and the lower self. There are higher self desires and there are lower self desires. But really, it's best to kind of stop looking at that there's a lower and a higher self. It would be best to look at the lower and higher self. That is separate. It would be best to look at it more like when you see a thermometer, there's no start of the hot and cold. As you start in the middle and you go more towards the right, things become more hot. As you go more towards the left, things become more cold. So it's best to look at it as one like spectrum, one scale. So the lower self, see, everything in this universe, every being desires supreme peace. And that supreme peace is synonymous actually with merging back with the absolute. But being in this 3D realm, right? This third dimensional earth consciousness, we are all blinded and locked up in a web of what they call Maya, Maya is I think it was associated with a Buddhist or a Hindu goddess, which puts a veil over the world and keep people in delusions. It's a beautiful name, but that's what Maya really translates as, the goddess of illusions. So the lower self, let me watch this time. The lower self, okay, it only sees through this third dimensional consciousness, everything fragmented. So that's why being trapped in that Maya, you looking at this car, you looking at this job status, you're looking at some idealized state of being, this degree, this and that, and actually, it's actually just a delusional form of what of peace and bliss. Actually, the higher self is always whispering messages for you to eat a more holistic diet, to join that yoga class, to start having a disciplined regimen of prayer, or this is it. So the higher self, in this realm, the lower self, it's way more rampant. It whispers about 85% more than the higher self. And only when you start cultivating your body the right way, the right foods, the right exercises, this and that, you free up trapped blockages within your body, or I should say bodies, because you got the mental body, the emotional body, the physical body, right? The chakras, all right, meridians, right? Those of you who understand what I'm talking about. And when you free up all those blockages, then the light of the higher self starts to shine through, and you'll be in sync more with what your higher self is leading you to do. And so there's higher self desires and lower self desires. All right. So, but this all comes back to that every being is going to have the desire to merge back to the absolute. All right. Now, because without that, then there will be no such thing as taking the path to do so. So I gotta wrap this video up right now in 2 minutes. But if there's any desires that's worth keeping, it would be only those from the higher self. Usually, I can guarantee you about 85% of the desires that we all have is not worth keeping. Even desires like, oh, I want to be the most advanced in this yoga class, so I got to save up more money to get to Master Teacher Part 3. There'd be a lot of ego in that too, even though you're in a spiritual setting, so-called, but I have to wrap it up right here, and I'm going to continue on this same point in Part 3. I'm going to make 5 parts, and it's really worth doing because desires is what keeps so many people bound and causes so much chaos in our life. But let me wrap it up. Once again, this is Lucid Dreamer. Leave your comments, please. Subscribe. The videos are going to get better and better. You might hear a little ums and ahs because I'm new getting my feet wet. But I promise I'm going to be flowing like a waterfall pretty soon, man. Precise and sharp. I got so much to share with the world. All right. Peace, y'all.